Hello everyone, this is Exile, and today I'm here for my second part of the Mastery Rework series, and this one is going to focus on Heart of Thorns Masteries. When I say Heart of Thorns Masteries, I exclude the Ancient Magic line from Living World Season 3, because I have a dedicated video that will talk about Season 3 Mastery lines that I thought I could implement, because I think that one line per update would have been a lot more fun, and we will discuss that in another video. That's going to be the part 3. For now, we are focusing on Heart of Thorns, so the lines are gliding, the Itzel lore, Exalted lore, New Arc lore, and a new one that I added, Mushroom lore, because I'll go ahead and say right now that I kind of realized that throughout Nuhak and Itzel, there were quite a lot concerning the mushrooms. So I took these away from the original lines and made a brand new mastery line with it, and I called it the Mushroom lore because it's all about mushrooms. But before we get into that, I want to take a moment to get back to the things that I think are very important to the masteries, for my version at least, and these are things that most influenced me when I reworked the masteries. I mentioned all of them in the previous video, except I didn't list them really clearly, so I thought I could take a moment for this now. So first, I think that masteries should be a single and tangible perk that influence the gameplay in a big way. Not necessarily a huge way, but you need to notice the change as soon as you train the mastery. That's the important bit. Second, I think that the progression through the mastery line is very important and needs to be natural and coherent. So that's very important for me too. And also, just a little reminder here, my version of the mastery system is character specific, so the masteries are no longer account wide as I talk about them. As you'll probably notice while I present to you the masteries that I've reworked, I decided to add a little something to the training of them in order to make them more flavorful, and also to embrace the fact that I want the progress of the mastery lines to be natural and coherent. And this is something that I call the requirements. Basically, the requirements are some things you will need to do in order to train the masteries when you have the required amount of points and when you have filled the experience bar associated with this mastery. So, what are those requirements, you might ask? Well, these will be very accessible things. Maybe you will need to speak to an NPC, maybe you will need to complete an event, maybe you will need to bring some mats. It's not about making the masteries any more difficult to train, it's about the flavor. It's really about the flavor, and I think that it makes them more real when you add these little requirements. The best example I can give you to show you what I mean by requirements is the gliding mastery line, and well, let's jump right into it. So my problem with the gliding line is that you needed to train a mastery in order to be able to glide, and this is something I never quite understood, because as we came to see with the mounts in Path of Fire, we didn't need to train a mastery in order to mount the raptor or the jackal. We only needed to buy the mount or acquire it, the raptor being free because it's given to us. So I always thought the glider should have been the same. My idea is that in the wreckage of the first instance of Heart of Thorns, Torn from the Sky, the player character could find a broken backpack that has the shape of wings, and that gives him the idea of repairing it and making a glider out of it. So as soon as you complete this story instance, which could ask you to glide, you would be able to glide in the open world. So you wouldn't have to train a mastery in order to glide. So as soon as you get out in the jungle after the first instance, you can glide. And that's a bit, in fact, that is exactly what happens in Path of Fire with the first mount, the Raptor. So with this change, the first tier of the gliding line, the official version of it, would be useless. Gliding Basics, which teaches us how to glide, now has no purpose in the game. The line would go down from 6 tiers to 5 tiers. The 5 remaining tiers would be Updraft Use, Lean Techniques, Stealth Gliding, Advanced Gliding, and Leyline Gliding. So these 5 tiers are really pretty much the same as the tiers 2 to 6 of the official line. So my biggest change in this line is the removal of the first tier, because I want to give the glider to the players as soon as they get out of the first instance of Heart of Thorns. Also, just like I said in my previous video about Corteria Masteries, since it's character specific now, the experience required to train the Masteries has been tuned down a little bit, so it feels more balanced for a single character. And also, as a rule, for all my lines, the first tier will require 1 mastery point, the second will require 2, the third 3, and so on. So the maximum amount of mastery points a mastery can require is 5 or 6, depending on how many tiers there are in the mastery line. So that's gonna be true for all my new masteries. And now, before I forget, let's talk about the requirements for this mastery line. I feel like mastering a glider is not a work that we do only on our own, because there are only so many things you can learn to do while you glide, and usually the glider is important when you learn these things. What I mean by that is that, for example, updraft use. You don't really do much when you take an updraft. The only thing that is different is that your glider is pushed upward by a force that is the updraft. So you don't really do much. The glider does the big part of the job. So how can the glider do more? Well, maybe you can reinforce it. And that is where the requirements come into play. My requirements for this tier of the line would be to have 5 thin strings and 5 curved thin letter squares in your inventory for you to be able to train the mastery. Why is that? It's because when you train the mastery, you actually repair the glider, or maybe you reinforce it because it's already repaired from the first instance. You reinforce it, and now it is able to sustain more force from the updraft because it's more sturdy, right? So yeah, that is the best example I can give of a requirement. It's something you need to do that makes the mastery feel more real and not out of place. So just like I said, updraft use will require 5 thin strings and 5 curved thin letter squares. Lean technique will require 4 coarse strings and 2 softwood planks, because in my little description I wrote that you put handles on your glider to be able to lean forward and backward. Stealth gliding will require 1 Ash Legion spy kit that you can buy from Kyra Sharp Tracker, which is a renowned heart from Plains of Ashford. So it's very low level, it's level 6. So it's no trouble getting this thing. And advanced gliding will require 2 thick strings and 2 cured thick letter squares. And finally, leyline gliding will require 1 ardent string and 1 cured ardent letter square. So yeah, that's about it. So with gliding out of the way, let's jump right into Itzel lore. Now, Itzel lore is one of the line I made the most changes about. 3 of the 6 tiers of this line are about mushrooms. And as I told you before, I made a brand new line that is called Mushroom Lore. So all these 3 tiers, Bouncing Mushroom, Blazing Speed Mushroom, and Adrenal Mushrooms, they go away from Itzel Lore and they go into Mushroom Lore. So that leaves Itzel Lore with Itzel Language, Itzel Poison Lore, and Itzel Leadership. But only 3 tiers does not make a good mastery line. I think that it needs to be a bit bigger. So what I did is I looked back at the first criticism of these mastery lines from Heart of Thorns, and I tried to fix them to make them more natural and more coherent. I think that the very important criticism that the mastery lines, mostly Itzel and Nuhag, had when Heart of Thorns came out is that it was kind of a way to get to know these people and get to communicate with them, but we didn't really see it translated in the game. When Heart of Thorns was announced and they spoke of the mastery system, they said it would be a way to learn to communicate with the tribes of the jungle, and without the masteries you could not speak with them. It would be foreign territory, so it would be difficult to navigate and all this stuff. But when we arrived in the jungle, we didn't necessarily train Itzel language, but still there is a NPC vendor, an Itzel vendor, at the very entrance of Verdant Brink that sells us things, and you can speak to this guy without Itzel language. I think that feels a bit odd, and I know why they did this. They did this because they want the things that they sell in Verdant Brink to be accessible for all the players, even if they don't really play much and they don't have this mastery. But with my rework, since the masteries are a bit more easy to get, I think I can do it, and I can lock the vendors behind the masteries, because they are not long to train anyway, so that won't make a big difference. So, my Itzel line would be this one. First, we've got Itzel language that allows you to speak with the Itzel, but they would still be cautious when in your presence. So they would have some dialogue that would show that they do not fully trust you. And with this mastery, you can use the Anvil at Jaka Itzel to repair your gear, and you could also sell your things to the Itzel vendors, but you cannot buy from them. The second tier would be Itzel ways, in which you would learn a bit more about the Itzel tribe, their ways, how they live their lives, and then when you train this mastery, you get more dialogue. The dialogue of the Itzel change. Now they trust you a bit more. They are now more friendly, and then you can buy from them the wares of Verdant Brink. So you had time to play a bit. You had time to learn to train these masteries. So now you made yourself a little hoard of currency that you can now spend at these vendors that were previously unavailable. So Itzel language, Itzel ways, and then after we have Itzel leadership. Now, the official version of Itzel leadership allows you to challenge Mayadal the Fierce in order to get a daily reward, a daily chest with loot. I don't really like this type of mastery, because personally I trained this mastery and I think I killed my owl the first like one time, and I didn't felt like I needed to get back to this place and do it again every day. So I decided to change this quite a lot. Now Itzel leadership will allow you to recruit a bodyguard, an Itzel bodyguard, that will accompany you in the jungle to help you against the Mordra. How this is gonna work, I'm not so sure, but when you train this mastery, there would be like an NPC that would be named Itzel bodyguard, and you could speak to this guy, and he would accompany you in the jungle. So I thought that this one could do its damage from range with his bow, maybe some poison damage on this. But I think that what could be interesting is to put some dialogue on this guy. So if you recruit this guy, you go on a bit, and then you feel that you are lost in the jungle, because you know these maps are quite huge, quite complicated. Mostly when you begin, when you just bought the game. So I thought that you could speak to this guy, speak to your bodyguard, and ask for directions. So maybe that would help the new players get around a bit in those big maps. And then after Itzel leadership, I have Itzel Poison Law, which is the same as the 4th tier of the official ArenaNet version of the Mastery line. So no big changes to this one. Yeah, now for the requirements. The requirements for this line are not mats, just like the glider. Well, a bit, but not entirely. So the requirements for the first tier, Itzel language, would be to bring a simple scribing kit, which is an Heart of Thorns item, to High Priest Kopu, which is just beside Kana Miatli, the leader of the Itzel, to actually write the language and how to speak. This is the way I found I could make the mastery a bit more real. By bringing a book and a pen to a priest, which is the thing you will find that is the closest to a teacher in the Jaka Itzel outpost. So you bring a simple scribing kit to this guy. When your experience bar is full and you have the required amount of points, and you can learn this mastery. The requirement for Itzel Ways is a basic scribing kit that you bring to the same guy. So it's a bit the same, except you need another kid because you need more space to write the ways of the Itzel. For Itzel leadership, it's a bit different. You would need to defeat Mayatel the Fierce, which is the champion that the official version of this tier allows you to kill. Now, with my change to the Itzel leadership tier, Mayatel the Fierce will be just baseline. You could go there every day and kill this guy, but it's a requirement for this tier. I thought it was a cool thing to keep a relation between this champion and this mastery line, because the official line allows us to kill him. And then we have Itzel Poison Lore, which also has a requirement, but this one is a bit different. The requirement for this one will be to speak to Kana Miatli, the leader of the Itzel, in Jaka Itzel, and answer some of her questions about the tribe to show her that you are ready to learn their secrets, which is how to protect yourselves from the poison of the Mordrum vines. And I think that's it for the Itzel line, so let's move on. Now, Exalted Law, it follows a bit the same layout as Itzel Law, but it's a bit different, because in the story, when you arrive in Terir with the egg as the egg bearer, the Exalted kind of accept you, so you don't really need to learn their language and their ways, since they're all former humans. They all speak Crichton, so you understand them. Well, that's what the game makes us believe, at least. So first is Exalted Markings, so it's the same as the first tier of ArenaNet's version of it. So this I didn't change much, except for the requirements. That is the same as before, to bring a simple scribing kit, but this time to Sage Rena, which is an Exalted in Terir that gives information about her people already. So if you want to learn about them, about the Exalted, you go see Sage Rena, and that is why I chose her for this mastery, because she already teaches about her people. So that makes sense for the mastery, getting to know them and stuff. So second, I went with Exalted Assistance. As you can see, I skipped Exalted Acceptance, because I think, as I just said, that The Exalted already accept you because you are an egg bearer, so you don't really need to be accepted, so they already do whatever they can to help you on your journey, so they will sell you things and offer their services in the city just because you arrive bearing the egg. So I skipped straight to Exalted Assistance, which does the same. You can use the Exalted Recall devices to summon an Exalted that helps you in combat. The requirement for this one would be to rescue Burnisher Adanik from Southwatch Creep, because this guy is a Burnisher and the Burnishers actually are builders. My idea is that this guy knows more about these devices and he teaches you how to use them properly, so after you speak with this guy, you know how to use these devices, so yeah. And then for the third tier we got Exalted Purification. So as you can see, my line is not so different from the official line. Exalted Purification is in fact the equivalent of Itzel Leadership. So it's the one that allows you to recruit a bodyguard. And to learn this, well, the requirement is the same. You need to kill the what's it called? The Tarnished Traitor, I think it is. So when you kill this guy, when you defeat him in combat, you prove yourself to the Exalted, and now they are willing to accompany you as bodyguards. Well, some of them that are. The fighter, I don't remember the name of them, it's Bastion, I think. Yeah, these are the fighters. So, but this guy, this bodyguard, will be more of a support bodyguard. The Itzel did a bit of condition damage too, from range, but this guy, the Exalted, would be a supportive bodyguard, so it's gonna heal, it's gonna give boons. I didn't went as far as choosing the boons is gonna give, the skills and all these things. I'm just putting out the idea. And then we have Exalted Gathering, which is the equivalent of Itzel Poison Lore, so it's the big secret of the Exalted that you get to learn when you gain their full trust. For this one, you need to speak with Sage Salim, which is in the room just before the Luminous Throne room. This allows you to mine auric slivers from mining nodes around Auric Basin. So that's it for the Exalted. So New Hawk lore, I also made a lot of changes too. Let's take the official line and see what I changed. First, New Hawk hunting. I removed it and I put it in mushroom lore. Because the special trophies that you can take from foes with this mastery that unlocks rare collections, I made them baseline. I don't think that locking collections behind a mastery is really flavorful, very meaningful, so I just removed that. Also, the Sawgill mushrooms is the part that I put in mushroom lore, so we're gonna check that later. So New Hawk hunting is now gone from New Hawk lore. After we have New Hawk wallows, which I kept, of course, but it's the second tier, so I replaced New Hawk hunting with another tier that I will discuss about soon. New Hawk language I also get rid of, because with Itzel lore we learned the language of the Itzel, but Heart of Thorns also teaches us that the Itzel and the New Hawk are close allies, so if we can speak with the Itzel, we can also speak with the New Hawk, in my opinion. They seem to be speaking the same language, so I think that New Hawk language is not exactly useful. So it's a language that unlocks the anvil, and the ability to sell to Itzel vendors would also unlock the anvil from Teku New Hawk and the ability to sell to New Hawk vendors. After that we have New Hawk Stealth Detection that I also moved away from New Hawk lore, because I don't really get why the New Hawk are better at detecting stealth than the Itzel or the Exalted. So I tied it to the mushroom, the invisible mushroom that we find in the jungle, and I put it in mushroom lore too, so more on that later. New Hawk Proving I kept, and I transformed it to be the bodyguard mastery. So it works the same as Exalted Purification and Itzel Leadership. And then New Hawk Alchemy, which is the big secret of the tribe, just like Itzel Poison Lore and Exalted Gathering. So I kept 2. So my line is this one. We start with New Hawk Ways, that allows you to buy from New Hawk Mastery vendors. And you need to bring a basic scribing kit to Beetle Herder Ichnoyotl while your experience bar is full for this mastery. So it's a bit the same as before. After that we have New Hawk Wallows, that allows you to use these wallows to traverse the jungle. You need to speak with Lore Seeker Zolin in Tech New Hawk. This guy is just beside the New Hawk Wallow hub below Teku New Hawk, so I think it was a good pick for this mastery. After that we have New Hawk Proving, that lets you recruit a bodyguard. The requirement, of course, is defeating Potoni the Massive at the top of Teku New Hawk. And finally we have New Hawk Alchemy, which is the mastery that allows you to dissolve Chak Goop, so when you are affected by this you take much less damage, and you can dodge roll to dissolve the goop so you won't be crippled anymore. And for this you need to speak with Alchemist Patli, which is also in Teku New Hawk, to learn about this. So that's it for the New Hawk. Let's jump right into Mushroom Lore. Now, as I told you, Mushroom Lore is composed of all existing mastery tiers that were previously in the Itzel and New Hawk. I made some changes to them, but really it's much more the same. So first we have Bouncing Mushrooms, really important, really present in the jungle. After with that we have Blazing Speed Mushrooms that you know about. Then Mushroom Gathering, that allows you to harvest Sawgill mushrooms. Then we have Mushroom Stealth Detection, like I said before. I removed it from the New Hawk line and put it there. My idea for this one is that any stealthed enemy in the jungle uses the spores of this kind of mushroom to stealth himself. So if you are able to detect these mushrooms, you are able to detect every other enemy in the jungle that are stealth, because they uses this technique the same as the treasure mushroom. So that's why the mastery works, in my opinion. And then we have Adrenal Mushroom. So yeah, I'm not sure if I want to put requirements on this, because it's mostly because I feel like Mushroom Lore is you alone exploring the jungle and encountering these mushrooms and discovering about them on your own. So just being in the jungle would be the requirement, and since gathering experience is exactly that, I thought I wouldn't put any requirements on them. So yeah, I left it there, so I think that's pretty good. But with these changes, always remembering that all my first tiers require 1 point, the second tiers 2 points, and so on. The Heart of Thorns mastery lines would require 60 points, and that would be it. Like, you need 60 Heart of Thorns mastery points and you would be good to train all of the masteries. Now you will also need to remember that I want to make the mastery insights character specific, so there are 22 points scattered around the jungle that each of your character could commune with and gain a point. So this is actually a third of all the mastery points you need to train the mastery line, so that is a good part of it. Now, considering that you have claimed all of these insights, you would still need 38 points, right? But here comes the daily masteries that I talked about in the previous video. For Heart of Thorns, there are 5, one associated with each line, so that would be 5 mastery points per day. So if you divide 38 mastery points that you still need after the insights are all claimed, 38 divided by 5, it's 7.6. So when you start in the jungle, you can play for 8 days, 7.6 days. So 7 days, and then some dailies for the 8th day. But still, in a week or so, you would still have all the masteries completed. And I think that is a good balance, because you would need to do the process over again on another character, but still I think this is good, because it's an endgame progression, right? So it needs to be done on several characters. Well, this is my opinion. You don't need to agree, guys. But yeah, so for my ideas on the daily masteries, well, I came with the followings. For the gliding line, the daily mastery associated with it would be take off to the sky with your glider like 10 times. I know this sounds a bit weird, because you could actually jump, press spacebar, deploy your glider, and then land right away, and then do it again until you hit the daily, so it would be like really fast. I don't know if it can be done, but maybe an internal cooldown on this, on the progression for this daily achievement, could be something to prevent that. I really don't know. This is just an idea. For the Itzel mastery line, I thought I could give a choice to the player. You have the choice to either kill one of the bosses in the canopy of Verdant Brink during the nighttime, or participate in the Jaka Itzel outpost event chain. Maybe not the whole event chain, maybe 2-3 events, because the whole event chain may be a bit long for a daily achievement, so I don't know. These are all just ideas, so it's not, I didn't totally think this through. So, moving on to the Exalted, the daily mastery would be a bit the same, so either you participate in one of the Outpost event chain or the Octavine meta event. So, remember when the Octavan was really popular because of the multi-map loot farm there was a few months ago? Well, that would have been a great way to earn mastery points. For the new Hawk, it's a bit the same pattern. Either you participate in the Teku New Hawk event chain, or the King of the Jungle in Tangled Depth. So these daily masteries are a way to lead the player through the different maps and make them participate in the different events in the maps. And then for the mushroom lore line, that would be something like encounter 3 types of mushrooms in the jungle. So it would be 3 different types. Of course, you could not complete the mastery by chaining 3 bouncing mushroom, for example. It would need to be 1 bouncing mushroom, or maybe you take 5, but it doesn't count for more than 1 type. So you need either a sawgill mushroom, treasure mushroom, or maybe an adrenal mushroom, speed boost, any kind of mushroom you need to interact with. You need 3 kind of them, 3 types, and then you can complete the mastery. So you need to either remember where 3 types of mushroom are, and you go there really quickly to earn the mastery really fast, or you just play the game and you encounter them as you play. This would be for the daily masteries. Again, the gliding one is a bit weird. I couldn't think of something better. Maybe you guys can. Please tell me in the comments if you have any better ideas. I really don't have any. So yeah, that's about it for the daily masteries. So that is what wraps my second part of the Masteries Reworked. I really think that if they were implemented that way, it would have been a lot more fun to train them and explore the jungle. And I firmly believe that the Masteries should be an experience that you can do again on every of your characters. So I think that my version of them really embraces that. If you have any questions, if you think that it doesn't work, if you want more, leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching, guys. It's been a long video. I'm not used to this, but I want to put this out and share it with the world, so thank you. Stay tuned, and I'll be back for the part 3 of this series, which is going to be about Living World Season 3 Masteries, that I expanded a lot. I hope you are looking forward to that. Thank you again, guys. See you later.